Hi guys, welcome to my channel. This is Arnel Aranques, and in this video tutorial we'll be discussing basic data binding using uniform controls. Okay, but before we start, please subscribe to my channel, Code Eater TV, and click the notification bell so that you'll be notified for my future video tutorial. Okay, so let's start. Now, what is data binding? Basically, data binding enables you to display data from your database into your WinForm application using uniform controls such as Textbox, Combobox, list view, data grid. Okay, in my previous video tutorial, I discussed how to data bind a data grid. Okay, but for now, we'll be using combo box and text box to explain to you how to data bind using those controls. Okay, so let's start. So what are the things that we need in creating or in data binding a certain control from our inform applications? Okay, so first thing that you need to do is to fetch the data to be binded into your inform controls. Of course, to do that one, we need to have our MySQL adapter, data table, MySQL command, MySQL connection, and the MySQL command builder. Okay, so let's start creating our data table, our um, data adapter, and our MySQL command builder. Okay, so let's name our data table as user full name combo box and our data adapter as user full name source, user full name adapter, and then our MySQL command builder as a MySQL command builder, a user command builder. Okay, so we need those three. Initially, we need those three to fetch our data and to bind our data. Okay. Um, Next thing that we will do is to create our method. Okay, so let's just name our method as a bind user full name combo box to basically bind user full name combo box because we will be using this method to bind our user full name combo box. Okay, so first thing that we need to do again is to fetch the data. Okay, to do that we need to create our connection string. Okay, and then after creating our connection string, we need to create our MySQL command, and then we will use the connection string in creating the MySQL command. I know MySQL connection. Okay, so after creating our MySQL connection, we need to open our connection. Okay, so next thing that we need to do is to instantiate our data table, MySQL adapter, and our MySQL command so that we can use those three. Okay, so instantiate our data table, MySQL command. Okay. But before that, um, we need to create first our MySQL command. Okay. So in our MySQL command, okay, we have to set our connection and our query. Okay. So MySQL command, then we set our connection, which is our MySQL connection, and then we set the command text. Basically, we'll be supplying our select query here. Okay, just like here. Select all from inventory user, and then let's use that one to supply our command text. Okay. Then after creating our MySQL command, okay, we will be uh, instantiating our data table, our MySQL adapter, and then our MySQL command builder so that we can use those three. Okay, so instantiate the three, then okay, after instantiating the three, then we can use that. The first thing that we'll be using is our user command, MySQL command builder, which is the user command builder. Okay, so we need to set the MySQL command builder's data adapter property. Okay, so we'll be setting the data adapter property. We'll be using the our MySQL adapter, which is user full name adapter. Okay, now what's the purpose of this code? Okay, what's the purpose of setting the data adapter? Okay, basically, based on the data being supplied by our MySQL command using the command text query, um, the MySQL command builder will automatically create the update, delete, and insert command for our data adapter. Okay, so next, after setting the command builder's adapter, we set the adapters select command, which is our MySQL command, and then we set we set our data tables data by using the adapter and then calling the adapter.field. Okay, so in the three piece of code, we set our MySQL command builder's data adapter, and then we set the data adapter select command, and then we set the uh, data tables initial data using the data adapter, which is user full name adapter that field and user full name combo box source. Okay, so next we set our combo box data source, display member, and then our value member. Okay, so what we have here is our combo box. Since we already have our data table and our data table has already a data, we will be using the data table as our combo box data source, and then we set the display member and then the value member. Basically, the data source properties where data binding start. Okay, so when we set the data source of our combo box, we initially created a data binding uh, of our combo box in our data table. Okay, which is of course the data table's data is came from the our database. Okay, so the display member property, it is where it is a property where we set what specific column of the data table will be displayed in the combo box. While the value member property, we specify what specific column of our data table will be returned by the method selected value method of our combo box. Okay? So since we want to display the full name of the user, and then we will also using the full name of the user um, to fetch data, fetch the user's data like our password, username, uh, and the user type. Okay, so let's set the display member and then the value member. Okay, as full name. Okay, full name. Then full name. Okay, so we are done with binding our combo box. So what we need to do is to call our bind user full name combo box method after the initialize component method in the public form one in this part of the code. Okay, so let's try. So as you can see here, um, the combo box displayed two names, Arneleo and Estalame Arantes, which is the user's full name. Okay, so we already done binding our first control, which is our combo box. So the next thing that we will do is to bind the other control, which is the username, the password, and then the user type. Okay, so let's start. First is our combo box. Okay, we set first the items of our second combo box, which is our user type. Let's just um, set that the user type could be either admin or guest. Okay, so we set the items property, and then under the items we set the admin and guest. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so let's just call our second method as the bind user info. Okay, basically, it is almost the same with the first method, but in here, since text box doesn't have a data source property, so we'll be using another type of data binding. Okay, so let's just use this method bind user info. Okay, and then we will insert the codes here to bind those two text box and one combo box. Okay, so first, of course, we need to fetch the data. Let's just uh, create our data table and our data MySQL adapter and then our MySQL command builder. Then after that, let's just copy paste the connection string and then the MySQL command. Okay, so all we need to do now is to modify our MySQL command text. Okay, so okay, we will include the where full name at full name. Okay, basically, what we need to do is to we only display the information of the selected user. So that's the reason why there is a where in our select command. Okay, then we create a parameterized query, and then we add a parameter. So basically what we have here, we only have one parameter. Okay, so let's name the parameters of full name, and then the at full name parameter will be replaced by the full name combo box dot selected value. Okay, so in our query, the at full name will be replaced with whatever selected value of our combo box. Okay, after that, um, let's instantiate our database, our data table, our MySQL adapter, and then our MySQL command builder. Okay, so let's instantiate the tree so that we can use the tree. After instantiating the tree, then let's start using first our MySQL command builder. Okay, so first we need to set the MySQL command builder's data adapter property to our data adapter, which is the selected user full name adapter. Okay, then after that, we set the adapter select command after creating our setting our select adapter select command. Then we will fill our data table using our data adapter. Then after that, we um, call the data adapters accept changes so that whatever changes that we did for in our data table will be reflected in the data table. Okay. After that, um, since we are done fetching data into our database, then let us bind that data into our control. Okay, so first is our text box. Let's just call our text box, then data bindings dot add. Okay, basically, we need to supply our data binding um, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 values. Okay, so basically what we have here is we created a data binding for our username text box. Okay, in creating the data binding, we need to set the text box property, the source of our data binding, and then the specific column of our data table. Okay, and then after that, the data source update mode. Okay, now the text here is the property of our text box. Okay, say for example username dot text. Okay, and then selected user full name combo box is our data table, and then username is the column of our data table. Okay? Basically, why we specify the specific column of our data table is that that specific column will be the one that will be displayed into our text box. Okay, and that will be the value of our text box dot text. Okay, so and then data source dot update mode on property change. It means the data source will be updated if the text property of our text box will be changed. So for example, if the user will change the value of our text box, then automatically that data will be reflected directly into our data source, which is our data table. Okay, and the name of our data table is selected user full name combo box. Okay, so let us create data binding for the other controls. Okay, so let's call the second text box, which is the password text box. Okay, then create another data binding for our combo box. Okay, so basically the name of our combo box is user type combo box. Okay, so we have now three data binding. Okay, for our data binding for our username text box, for our password text box, and for our user type combo box. Okay, so in the user type combo box data binding, okay, it is the same. We set the text property. So whatever data that is under the username column, okay, will be reflected or will be the value of our text property of our user type combo box, the password text box, and the full name, the username combo box. Okay. Mm. Now we are done with creating our data binding for our three controls. Okay, basically what we will do is to call the bind user info every time the user full name combo box selected index change event happen. Okay, so good programming practice is under the selected index command is we will check first if the selected index property is not equal to 1. It means if there's as a selected item into our combo box. Okay, so again, every time we select a use selected user, then the bind user info will be called. Okay, now one common rules in data binding is that you can bind a text box with only one um, table into our um, database. So therefore, since every time we select a user from our combo box, the bind method for our three columns or three controls will be called. So it means every time we select, we added a data binding, which is it will create an error. Okay, so before we add a new data binding for our username, password, and user type combo box, you will clear first those previous data binding. Okay, so to do that one, all we need to do is to call the data bindings that clear method. Okay, so let's clear the three. Okay, so before adding our data bind, we clear the previous data binding. Okay, so next. Okay, let's try. Okay, oh, I forgot. Okay, since um, we will display the user full name, the username, the password, and then the user type into our username text box, password text box, and our user type combo box. We need to set instead of username, we need to set up password and then the user type, because that's the specific column of the data table that will be displayed in the password text box and then in the user text box. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so as you can see, when I select a specific user in the full name combo box, then the other information such as the username, the password, and then the user type will be displayed in the other controls. Okay, so basically that's how data binding works. Okay, so now the next thing that we will do is to create some changes into our control, and then after that, we will save those changes directly into our database. Okay, so how to do that one? Of course, we need to create a click event into our save button. Okay, to do that one, we need to use the currency manager. Okay, now what is a currency manager? Okay, basically, a currency manager is just a data binding manager. Okay, there's a lot of things that we can use using the currency manager. Okay, but for now, let us just um, use the currency manager, enable us to reflect the changes that we did into our controls, like into our text box and into our combo box, and then apply those changes directly into our data table, which is the data source of those um, of our two text box and combo box. Okay, so to do that one, okay, what we need to do is to get the uh, binding context. Okay, create our data binding manager, and then we get the binding context of our data adapter, which is the selected user full name. Remember that the selected user full name adapter is the adapter that we use in data binding our text box and in our combo box. Okay, the password, the username, and then the user type. Okay, so we will get the binding context of our data adapter, and then we will convert that binding context as a currency manager. Okay, then after that, under the currency manager, we will be calling the end current edit. It means we will be reflecting whatever changes that we did inside our control. Okay, since our control is data binded with our data table, so whatever changes in our control, it will be reflected into our data adapter and data table by using the end current edit method of our currency manager. Okay, so to do that one, before we save our changes, then we need to check if there are changes happened into our database. Okay, and into our data table. To do that one, we need to call the get changes method of our data table. And then if it will not return a null, then it means there are some changes. Then we will call the data adapter then that update method, so that the changes that we did into our data table will be reflected into our database. Okay, so let's try. Okay, so select Arnileo. Okay, let's change it as admin. Save changes. Okay, Estela. Okay, then Arnileo. Okay, let's just change the password. Okay, welcome. Okay, then save changes. Okay, so rerun our application if indeed our database changed. Okay, so as you can see here, okay, so the password and then the user type changed. Okay, so basically that's it. That's how to data bind in C WinForm applications. Okay, so hope you guys learned something from me and keep following my future video tutorial. Hope you like it, guys. Thank you very much and God bless.